The Philadelphia 76ers are on the verge of beating the Boston Celtics in the second round in what can't quite be considered an upset, considering Philly has two of the premier stars in the NBA on their team. I was never sold on Boston, and while the volume of their miscues isn't exceedingly high, they tend to come at crucial moments where the games get decided. And if the Celtics can't lock them up better, it'll be the Sixers riding high and feeling that. Defensively, the Sixers are doing some interesting things to stymie the Celtics offense. Keep your eye on the weak side corner, as they're doing a good job to contain drivers by rotating early and meeting the ball at the block, with some excellent hustle by Tyrese Maxey to close back out to the corner and contest this shot. Watch Niang disconnect from his man cutting to the weak side to help stop the drive by Brogdon. Terrific defense by House to keep the ball away from the basket, and now the shot clock becomes an extra defender. Tatum should be getting open to the top for a shot, but they continually let Marcus Smart do the ISO dance, and he's just not that guy. That same aggressive weak side help from the corner comes into play when Tatum tries to curl into the lane through contact. Maxey had been staring a hole at the ball the whole way and deflects his bad pass into a turnover. Here's another example of Maxey pushing the boundaries of the defensive 3-second rule to scare Tatum away from the drive, and it leads to a busted play and a Horford brick from the corner. The Sixers have been great to send an extra defender early to thwart the Celtics' drives. It's not from the weak side, but PJ Tucker is there to support Harden at the lane line, with Embiid looming large on the right block. Harden is putting out good energy on this end, and we're beginning to note a theme here with the result of this shot. In fact, to say Al Horford is struggling from three would be a vast understatement. Against Atlanta in the first round, he shot 44.4% on wide open shots, but against the Sixers, he simply cannot make one, and it's painful, only making 13.6% of the open ones and 27.3% overall. Horford has never had good rhythm with his three-point shot. There's almost no dip, the set point is over his head in the two-motion shot, but he's proven over a lot of years that he can consistently make threes. However, they've gotten into his head, and watch how Embiid can play a one-man zone, interrupting Tatum's drive to the basket by just taking a step in that direction, opening up a shot from another guy who isn't shooting well either, on 6 threes a game. With Embiid hovering with both feet in the lane, the Celtics don't even want to think about driving, and so long as they park Horford in the corner like this, Embiid will continue to make life harder for anyone venturing into the lane for a shot. They've gotten so good at keeping Embiid down low and saving valuable energy and wear and tear that he even switches off of Horford and lets Maxey pick him up so he won't have to leave the lane, and this lures him into an ill-advised dribble drive that results in a ridiculous turnover. It's not like the Sixers are locking down the Celtics' offense. Boston's offensive rating is quite healthy in both their wins and losses, but it's causing enough systemic issues that the Celtics are not playing with the kind of freedom this song is singing about. Watch Harden rotate off that weak side corner again to support Paul Reed, who's jumping to Tatum on his blind spin move, and a deflection turns into a turnover. More great Harden defensive energy. With Spain pick and roll, he breaks off from his man Marcus Smart to step in front of Tatum, while Embiid loads up knowing he can completely ignore Al Horford in the corner. He's only a couple of inches off, but it's clear his calibration is messed up. This was my favorite Harden defensive possession of the series. Watch how Maxey is forced to pick up Horford on the switch. Before they can try to take advantage, Harden scrams Maxey out of there and is patiently waiting as Jaylen Brown never sees him before committing the charge and turnover. A quick look at the on-off number for both Derek White and Al Horford show that they are a total drag on both the Celtics offense and overall net rating. It's possible these guys rebound, but they'll be playing on the road where production from role players tends to go down. And if you want a chance to win some money on their box score numbers, then you have to head over to UnderdogFantasy.com and check out Pick'em, where you can choose 2 to 5 players, then decide on the over-under for specific stats. It's super easy to set up, and you can win up to 20 times your initial entry fee. If you think Embiid is going to score more than 9.5 free throws tonight, I don't think he will, then get in the action. But it doesn't stop there. You can make it a rival and add players from different teams to make it even more interesting. They've also got drafts where you can compete against me. You think you got what it takes? If you click on the link below and use my promo code BBALL, you'll get a deposit match of up to $100. So if you want a chance to get up to 20 times your money or beat me in a draft, you've got to check out Underdog Fantasy. Use my code BBALL, get up to $100 in matching deposits, then you'll have a chance to win money and more fully understand why I had predicted at the start of the regular season that Malcolm Brogdon would put a lot of pressure on the coaching staff to start him, and he's come up huge over and over. Now that they're on the verge of elimination, I don't think you can risk starting out slow, so don't be surprised if they bench White. Jayson Tatum has also been a big drag offensively, making too many mistakes with bad reads, primarily because he keeps his eyes down far too long and can't see the floor well enough. His efficiency is suboptimal, and the coaching staff must be frustrated that he's got such a huge usage rate compared to Jaylen Brown, who's hitting practically everything this series. PJ Tucker is making him work, but he can't handle the explosion and the length, as Brown lets the offense work for him to get open most of the time. Tatum, on the other hand, continually operates on his own, quite literally putting his head down and getting stripped far too often for a player of his caliber. He's been driving to the teeth of a waiting defense and forcing up shots, while open teammates stand in the corner watching. And in the weird turn of events, he keeps finding himself being guarded by Joel Embiid, workout partners who are both trained by friend of the breakdown, Drew Hanlon. And Embiid has had no problem handling him one-on-one or on this lefty finish near the basket. The issue for the Celtics has been their defense. Check the offensive rating splits of the Sixers in their wins versus losses, and it really comes down to how they're guarding James Harden. Interestingly enough, it's the pick and roll with Al Horford that has plagued them in the Sixers' wins. He drops far too low, allowing anything and everything that Harden wants with the ball. The Celtics have to continue to drop the bigs to lure him into mid-range jump shots, but Harden is way too good for that and has sliced them up continually. The only way to justify Horford's heavy minutes would be if he was hitting three-point shots, but I've already shown you how his mere presence on that end continues to make life hell on everyone else. We can't pretend that Robert Williams fares any better in this action. The one thing they need to improve on is with their guards getting around the ball screen and not getting eliminated by them. Also, pre-switch before the ball screen is set. Get another mobile player up there who can just switch it and not lose any ground. Maybe even a hard double every now and then to keep him guessing would help, but they just haven't done much of anything creative. So far, the Celtics haven't shown the ability to adjust in any meaningful way despite Coach Mazzulla's protests.
Nobody wants to ask about all the adjustments we made from Game 1 and Game 2?
I think Game 5 ended up being the backbreaker. While the Celtics did adjust by not only putting Brown on Harden but flat out denying him, and this led to an almost season low in field goal attempts, but they were still able to get him operating the pick and roll as a facilitator all night long. And that let Maxey do his own Harden imitation, running the pick and roll, and I know Horford is concerned with Embiid, as he should, but the ball is always the most important thing. This will look familiar, as Robert Williams drops and Brown does a terrible job trying to get around the Embiid screen as Maxey takes a practice shot from downtown. On this two-man game on the left side, Peyton Pritchard is doing an excellent job staying connected and then even bothering Embiid's dribble enough to force him to pick it up. I don't understand what Williams is doing here after the contest, ending up out of bounds. And remember how well the Sixers were rotating early out of that weak side corner? Tatum could learn from that, as he's way too late to stop the floater from going in. This was the first of a 1-2 punch that I think might have ended this series, as the Celtics were doing a great job containing and pressuring until the shot clock became an issue, and they got what they wanted, their best defender on Maxey, who just takes him to the top of the key and casually puts a nail in the coffin. Speaking of which, one reason the Celtics are so all over the place is because of the Marcus Smart experience. From one play to the next, you'll never know exactly what you'll get, and neither does he. He's constantly trying to bait the other team into fouls, and the dance between him and PJ Tucker has been fun to watch, as they both can't help but bump into each other all game long. His attempts to take charges are always on the edge of being legal, as this risky attempt was rewarded even though I'm still not quite sure why. He is constantly instigating contact, but then instantly falling down to test whether the referee was paying attention. And while it is indeed frustrating to watch, it also tends to be an advantage for the Celtics, so in the long run, it's been paying off for him. His isolations have always been head-scratching to me, especially considering they've generally got at least two players infinitely better at it on the floor alongside him. The Game 4 loss was a backbreaker, and a couple of things stood out. Instead of blasting Harden this high on the floor, they allow a switch, and Horford will get beat on that left wing. Why isn't Smart ignoring the non-threatened PJ Tucker in the corner and running at him here? As a result, Harden gets to the foul line for a nice little runner to tie it. Tatum then forces a switch and attacks Maxey, but his eyes are down and misses Brown right in front of him for what could have been the game-winning dunk. instead getting it to a guy who does have a wide open shot, but has been clearly struggling and short arms a wide open look. That leads me to the game winner for Harden, down 2 points, and after Horford had been manhandling Embiid down low multiple times, why the heck would you park him on PJ Tucker on the weak side and then let Tatum switch onto Embiid? To make matters worse, Brown face guards Harden, which is great. Do not let him touch the ball. But he suddenly forgets that mandate and doesn't realize that a two-pointer merely ties the game with 15 seconds left to go for the win. But leaving the one man you cannot leave open behind the three-point line? Well, that's the only way you lose this game. Now, coaches don't call timeout sometimes when they think their team can get an advantage going quick, but the defense is completely set. They've got 2 timeouts left. There was no reason not to huddle up and design something good. Instead, Tatum winds the clock down till it's way too late, and they can't even release a shot before the clock expires. An embarrassment of coaching, execution, late game clock awareness, but basically basketball in general. What might have completely ripped the Celtics' heart out was this play. While the game was probably already over, Horford makes a great play to steal Embiid's dribble, but watch what he does here. Sprinting as hard as he possibly can despite a bum knee and then completely laying out to block this layup before crashing into the stanchion. If Embiid is willing to give out this kind of effort with a 15-point lead deep in the fourth quarter, what hope do the Celtics have? As another famous song once said, freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. And that's exactly where the Celtics are as they wander into the city of brotherly love and experience firsthand how hard it is to win.